No, now we're recording.
Now we're recording.
But I don't know what all this means.
What's with the percentages? What's going on with the
I have
percentages?
no idea what this means. Can we have 50-50? What's it?
I think, right, I don't know. It seems like I'm talking much more than you. And now, mhm.
I don't know. Anyway, regarding this podcast by
Wait,
Seinfeld,
now you're a little blurry. 1 second.
Fly on the Wall. I'm blurry?
I'm just trying to understand what's going on.
You can find the laugh.
You're blurry now for some reason. Am I blurry?
Yes.
You weren't blurry before.
Not sure what happened. Where's the transcript for this? It's okay. Hey.
Okay.
So this podcast with Seinfeld on the Fly on the Wall. First of all, I don't even know who these people are. David Spade maybe looks a little familiar to me. I don't know who Dana Carvey is. Carvey.
Dana Carvey. Dana Carvey was an old Saturday Night Live. You ever hear of Wayne's World with Mike Myers?
Not really.
So Wayne's World was like, I think my generation heard of Wayne's World, but we didn't know Dana Carvey from Saturday Night Live. On Saturday Night Live, he was the guy who did all the voices. He's incredible with voices. That was his like main feature during Saturday Night Live, and then afterwards he did movies. So he does impressions. I think he did at some point a Bush impression. He does everybody. So he did Bush, so he was famous for that reason. And the other guy, David Spade. David Spade also a bunch of movies. David Spade was a lot of movies with a guy named Chris. Was it Chris? Chris Farley. Chris Farley. Remember him?
Not really.
Chris Farley he was in he was like a very fat comedian, also in Saturday Night Live, but he was very fat and he made a big deal about his weight and he was over the top, like very over the top, like Jim Carrey-ish, like a little over the top, but a lot of it has to do with his weight. He died at 27. He's part of the 27. He's part of the 27 Club. You know the 27. You know the 27 Club.
No, I don't know the 27 Club.
Don't tell. Are you 27?
I am 27.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. No, there's a club.
Yeah. What's
There's
the
a
27?
27. There's 20.
Oh,
20
a music
people
club.
who died at 27. Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix,
No.
Van Morrison.
I did not know about that.
Amy Winehouse, Mitch Hedberg.
I did not know that there was a 27 Club.
I think Farley. Who else? A whole bunch of people.
Janis Joplin.
Oh, Janis Joplin. Oh, yeah.
Jim Morrison.
Not Van Morrison. Jim Morrison.
Chris Bell.
I don't know who that is.
Me neither. I'm just reading names.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, Seinfeld is not in the 27 Club.
No, he's old. He's 70.
Seinfeld is 70?
Crazy.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Does not
crazy.
Look...
It's interesting. Meaning, even the truth is, even on the show, I'm not sure if they were clear about how old he was supposed to be, but I always thought he was in his 20s. He was in his 30s.
In the show. So
during the show, I think the show ended when he was like 40.
The reason why I know he is 30 in the show is because when they were when the I don't know what the episode was called, but when George and Jerry were accused of being gay, they said for what other reason would you be 30 slim and neat? In your 30 slim and neat.
Right. Right. There. That right. Good proof.
Yeah.
Right. In general, I think they're right. It was hard to know their ages, but I never knew it until I think recently. I think the show ended. He must have been mid-40s when the show ended, because if now he's 70, The show ended in 98. So 08, 18, it's 26 years. 26 years, 70, 60, 50. He ended when he was 46.
Wow. He's almost 50
That's
years old.
crazy. That means he was 46 when it ended. Wow. That's old.
That's old. He's an old man. It's not. That's
No,
not some.
70 definitely is old, but even the fact that he was 46 on the show, you would never think he's 46. He's Jerry Seinfeld. He's a young guy.
He looks pretty young. He really looks pretty young. I'm looking
Yeah.
at. He's 70. That's a good looking 70.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah, he's pretty good looking. Yeah, I don't think he's a great looking guy, but he looks young.
He's not particularly great looking. He
Right.
looks
He's not.
he
He's
looks
not like.
silly.
Right. He's not like a
Look,
really good looking guy.
he looks like a
He's not.
quirky
He's not
guy.
ugly. Not.
Not ugly. He could go on
Not ugly.
television.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he was on television.
So, just to give everyone a little bit of a background here, Ben and I, you're going by Ben? Okay, I guess you're going by
Yeah.
Ben.
Sure.
Ben and I watched or listened to podcasts given or called Fly on the Wall. It's hosted by Dana Carvey and David Spade, who they had Jerry Seinfeld on, and they spoke about comedy mostly. And honestly, I was surprised that they're talking about comedy on a podcast. Jerry even made fun of like the idea of a podcast of like what is going on, what is this, or who are we talking? Like what we're just talking is like 100,000 people listening. In his regular Seinfeld-esque way. But I was surprised that they're talking about comedy on a podcast, and they did not mention Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is the biggest podcast in the world, and he's like the
Yeah.
comedy guy. He's the stand-up comedy guy, and there was no mention of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I did notice that. It was interesting. Yeah.
I really think that there is beef between Joe Rogan and Jerry Seinfeld. I really think so. Because
I think I heard somebody say this before.
because I think Joe doesn't either talk about he like does not mention Jerry Seinfeld at all. Like if Jerry is mentioned,
He never interviewed
like
Jerry, right? Did he ever interview him?
never interviewed Jerry Seinfeld, which again is like surprising. Like
And also now with the whole, he just came out with the movie. He's going on his tour,
yeah,
and he never interviewed him.
Podcast tour.
So you think that there's some beef between them?
I think there's a beef. I'm googling it right now. Let's see if there's some beef between Joe Rogan and Jerry Seinfeld. Not really. I mean, there's nothing really on Google about it. Nope. I don't know.
The truth is, does Seinfeld does he do a lot of these interviews?
I think
Like
I don't think
I
so.
tell you, right? I don't think he does that many interviews. Also, I just don't see Jerry Seinfeld sitting on Joe Rogan for 3 hours. I don't see it. And I think the shortest on Rogan is like 2 hours maybe. Like there's nothing for an hour. Like the first hour they're not even talking. They're just they're just hanging.
I think
There's
he had the
nothing going
mayor.
on for the first hour.
I think he had the mayor of Austin on. I think it was like an hour and a half.
Right, even there, I can't see Jerry Seinfeld sitting there for so long. Maybe that's the reason he doesn't do it.
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah.
But I do. It was interesting that like it just seemed like David, right? David and Donna, like
Dana.
they like sort of like revere Jerry. They're like, "You're our biggest guest.
Yeah.
You're the biggest guest we've ever had on." Like, we're not, they're like looking at like he's the king of comedy.
And the truth is, they're not wrong. They're not. There's two things. One, I think they grew up with him. Like when in the '90s, when they were big, Jerry Seinfeld had the most popular show on TV. Like he was the guy. So he wasn't doing movies, but he had the number one show. So there's some reverence in regards to that. And two, in terms of legacy and history, Jerry Seinfeld is probably the most well renowned or successful comedian ever. Like he's in terms of the show and his own private comedy, I don't think there's anybody bigger than him. Like in terms of comedian, in terms of the straight up comedian role,
Hmm.
not a guy who's and even amongst movie actors actually, like whatever comedy movies there are. I don't know, Melissa McCarthy, she's funny, whatever, but
Think big,
she's an actress.
think bigger than Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I think Adam Sandler is only his movies.
His movies. I mean, he's movies. He's not really
No,
TV.
he's movies, and even with his movies, it's viewed as like almost like I think it's a little bit viewed as like boyish. Like you go see it, it's like you're going into Silly World. Like, hey, let's go into Silly World and have a nice time with Adam Sandler, and everybody's playing us along. It's silly Adam Sandler, and that's why I think they made a big deal that he went serious. Like he made a couple serious movies, and there's a big deal about that because not just comedy. I don't think he's just a comedy kind of actor. It's also the silliness that he brings.
Right.
So I don't think Jerry Seinfeld is not viewed as a silly person. He's viewed
Right.
as a comedian, like a very serious comedian.
He does have that, like, that his style, the thing that he does. Like he does have, like, what's the deal? Like that's his. He is in
Right.
that lane,
The
which it,
nuances. No, but
right.
even the what's the deal? I think that's a parody of what he does. Which again, it is. It's nuanced.
He
Like he
doesn't
looks
actually
at.
say what's the deal.
I don't know. I think there was like some talk about that. Maybe he said it once. Like maybe he said it once. Like I don't think he would say that too much.
All right. I guess so.
But no. So there is. So no. Right. So I think what you brought up with the reference, it is interesting. I'll tell you I'll tell you what I didn't like about it.
The episode.
The episode is that Seinfeld is is the king of comedy, and he loves to do one thing. He loves to talk about the science of comedy. He loves it. He's like Bill Belichick when it comes to like talking about football. Bill Belichick loves to talk about the nuances of football. He wants to talk how plays are, the formations, how plays are broken down. He likes the science of it. Seinfeld loves the science of comedy, and they didn't get there. They talked about it a little bit, like the little things that are funny. Like they had opportunity. They were like sort of like giddy in talking to him, and a lot of these types of podcasts, and this is why Joe Rogan, it just bothers me. It's just guys sitting around talking, and there's often, again, I'm not saying everybody, because I'm sure that a lot of times that the conversations are substantial, but often the conversation is not substantial. And you have a guy like Jerry Seinfeld, make it substantial. Like
What
learn
what
from him.
what do you like? You consider substantial meaning getting into the science of comedy?
Get into the science, especially because he likes to talk about it. Get into the science of comedy. For example, Rogan had on what's his name, Louis C.K. and they did that a little bit. They dug a little bit into how he prepares, what they do, like how he comes up with the joke. Does he write the jokes? Does he memorize the words? Does you just um, you know go up there cold and just has an idea and tries to work it out? Like it's an interesting, like for the audience member to get an insight into the world of the comedian. I would love to get into insight into the world of comedian Jerry Seinfeld. Like, how do you construct a joke? When you come up with a joke, do you write it down? How long does it take for you to break down the joke until how you like it? How many times do you prepare it before a special comes out? Like, these are interesting things that, but otherwise, they're talking about half the time they're talking. I don't know. I can't remember what they're talking about. Like, like I don't know. That's my own thing. I like I like for a podcast to be a little bit more substantial and less conversational. I don't mind the conversation a little bit, and especially if it's funny, which isn't always the case.
Hmm.
But
I don't know.
but
I've listened to many podcasts. I'm okay with the hosts sort of going into whatever conversation they want to talk about, and also I do recall them talking about comedy and what it's the way the way to do comedy. What they really don't like they were saying, like, I hate it when comedians say, "When I was writing this joke." Like, don't do that. Like, that's what they were saying. Like, they were like critiquing like types of comedy, and
Right,
I,
right. That was good. That was good. Right. And Seinfeld was good. He was very clear about his opinions on that. They were talking about using curse words. He was clear about his opinion on that.
yeah,
That was good. They did some of that stuff, which is great because that's what Seinfeld loves to talk about. There's on Spotify. There's an interview that, like, a very serious interview. The person doing the interview was not a comedian. He was not. It was like doing it for like a show or something, or like a TV channel, like a little like Charlie Rose almost, like that kind of style, like very serious, like a regular serious type of interview. And they were talking to Seinfeld for a while, and it was very interesting. He broke down like
hmm.
the forms of comedy, things that he likes, things he doesn't like, the way what he thinks about how, just getting into his mind a little bit. And I find it very fascinating. And Seinfeld is very serious. It's interesting. He's a funny guy, but he's very serious, like about his craft for sure.
Hmm.
And it seems like he can have some, like, he's not like he's not a Lates, you know. He's not what's the English word for that?
Lazy,
Not lazy. Like, he's
procrastinator.
not. No, no. A Lates is like somebody who's like everything is just a joke.
Oh, oh,
Like, he's serious minded.
oh. Hmm. Saying he's serious about the comedy.
It's sort of like comedy. It's just serious minded. I think there's a substantial things that could come out of a conversation with him.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so everyone, go listen to the podcast. Dana Carvey and David Spade, Fly on the Wall with Jerry Seinfeld, on Spotify, on YouTube, and subscribe to our channel. This is the podcast. This is the podcast that discusses podcasts.
Mm.
Listen to your podcast and then listen to us, which would be
Or
our
listen to us and then listen to the podcast.
that's
And
Spade
then you listen
too.
to the podcast and you're like, these guys got it totally wrong.
Exactly. All right, Ben. Good
All
to see
righty.
you.
Nice seeing you. Thanks for making it work. Take care.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
All
Bye.
right, bye bye.